Ja, okay. Das haben wir nicht.
Man hört uns.
Rein theoretisch noch.
Ja. Satzbild hier sehen. Welcome everybody to the kickoff of our Batch 5 program. We're excited to host you today virtually but live from Munich due to the current circumstances, and we're excited to start the Batch 5 program. My name is Friederike Rohr and I will be the moderator of today. I am the head of the Munich office as well as the director of the Startup Creasphere program, and I will guide you through today's event. Before we kick it off, for those of you who are not so familiar with Plug and Play and Startup Creasphere, we will first show you a little video of how Startup Creasphere evolved over the past 2 years to get a better understanding how far we have come until today.
Startup Creasphere is one of the largest innovation platforms for digital health solutions in Europe. The accelerator program was founded by Roche and Plug and Play in Munich, Germany in 2018. Sanofi's consumer health business joined as a founding partner in early 2019, followed by Lonza as an anchor partner in 2020. Building on the successful program and proven concept from Munich, Startup Creasphere has launched new satellites in Silicon Valley and Singapore in 2020. Joined by additional partners such as the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, University Hospital Schleswig-Holstein, Sana Clinic, and Microsoft, Startup Creasphere has created an ecosystem that provides an open innovation platform to digitally transform healthcare together. Enabling access to innovation and real engagement between corporates and startups, Startup Creasphere fosters new ideas, new business models, as well as a mindset shift, and ultimately, the development of digital solutions that help improve patients' lives. Startup Creasphere is continuously scouting for the best startups in specific focus areas defined by the corporate partners. Roche aims at leveraging new solutions based on software, algorithms, AI, and sensors to improve patients' lives in areas such as cardiac and neurodegenerative diseases, as well as optimizing their internal processes. Sanofi seeks for new digital solutions to support patients suffering from different diseases and symptoms with a beyond-the-pill offering, as well as enhancing the corporate operational efficiency. Lonza is actively seeking the next generation of manufacturing technologies for production, analysis, and formulation of tomorrow's biologics, cell, and gene therapies. Twice a year, the most promising startups get selected and invited to participate in a 12-week accelerator program, a so-called batch. During the batch, the startups and dedicated pilot owners coming from the business and R&D teams of the corporate partners work on a pilot project together. This co-creation process is accompanied by a mentoring and coaching program for the startups. At the end of the batch cycle, corporate partners and startups jointly decide on a path forward that ultimately culminates in transforming healthcare together.
Thank you very much for watching, and we hope that this gave you already a little bit of a better understanding of Startup Creasphere. I would like to quite quickly guide you through the agenda of today. We are starting with the welcome and opening remarks and a little history of Plug and Play and the Startup Creasphere program and how it evolved, followed by a keynote from Jörg Debertin, chairman of the Health Innovation Hub of the Ministry of Health, followed by the core of the event, the startup pitches. First, with the introduction of Sanofi, followed by the pitches for Sanofi's business units for the pilots of Batch 5, followed by a short 10-minute break, and continuing with the introduction from Roche with the Roche startups and Lonza with the Lonza startups. And we are very excited to host you today and have prepared a lot of great content for you to kick off this very special batch. But of course, before we kick it off, what is also important, I'm sure you're all very familiar with the Zoom meetings already by now. I would like to quickly guide you through the housekeeping rules. We have two types of attendees, as active and passive attendees. For the active participants like the startups and the speakers, we would like to please ask you to mute yourself and switch off your camera when you're not speaking, to please be on time for your dedicated time slot, and to please rename yourself in Zoom that we can identify you. And for all other participants, I would also love to encourage you to support us and to be as interactive as possible. We do have the startup pitches and the Q&A for each startup, and you can ask questions through Slido, as well as you can ask any other questions through the Zoom chat box, or if you have any concerns in the meantime, try to see the Slido as if you sit in the audience and you can ask a question to the stage. How you can enter Slido, you can take out your smartphone now and scan the QR code, or you can go to www.slido and enter the code batch5 and actively participate in this event. You can also join us on sharing your experience of this event via Twitter or LinkedIn, and join us there. We will also be live tweeting and updating on LinkedIn. And for those of you who have troubles with Zoom, we're also live streaming this event on YouTube. Before we kick it off, we'd also like to announce that we do have a new partner on the platform starting now on the ecosystem level, which is Accenture, and we would like to welcome Accenture warmly. And we're very excited to have you on board to support the startups from the batch as a mentor and in deal flows, and to join the corporate side as well. And now again, back to Plug and Play and what we actually do. Plug and Play is a venture capital fund and accelerator from Silicon Valley, where we originally started. Our CEO and founder, still the CEO, Zaid Amidi, has started interacting with startups in earlier years, and his first interactions were actually as a co-working space where he had Google as one of his first tenants, until they became too big and had to move out. But this was his first touch point, and this is when his journey with the startups evolved and his investment arm started. Some of his most successful investments were PayPal or Lending Club or Dropbox, and you can see here a list of other successful investors. We are the most active investor in early stages. We have invested in over 300 startups in last year alone, everything from 50 to 500,000 in ticket size. Here you can also see the other arms from Plug and Play. So on the one hand side, we have the investment arm, and then we also support our corporate partners within their internal innovation strategies through our corporate innovation, by supporting them with deal flows for their dedicated business units for specific topics that they would like to innovate in, white label, integrate, or pilot, as well as innovation days, ideation workshops, and support with their strategy in innovation. And the third pillar, and also today, the Batch 5 program is part of the Accelerator program. We are running over 40 Accelerator programs globally, and we are supporting this by organizing a program for our corporate partners and startups where we bring them together and they can pilot within the program and kickstart their co-creation and collaboration together. Here you can see an overview of the programs. We are basically present in all industries you can think of, and we are clustered into different verticals depending on the industry. Here in Munich, we have insurance, retail, and health present. And in Germany, we have logistics and supply chain in Hamburg, mobility in Stuttgart, and fintech in Frankfurt. And we have now over 30 offices globally across all industries. But talking about the healthcare industry and the vertical healthcare, we're also pretty much spread out all over the world, starting with Silicon Valley, Cleveland, Abu Dhabi, Shanghai, Kyoto, or Sao Paulo. We are supporting corporates and bring them together with the best healthcare startups globally to co-create and to join forces to transform healthcare together. For startup Creasphere alone, we have 3 offices with Munich, Sunnyvale, Silicon Valley, and Singapore, where we run the same programs that we do out of Munich, a pilot-driven program. Talking about what have we done in Startup Creasphere, these are our partners. Without those, we couldn't have run any pilot together. And these are the current partners from the Startup Creasphere platform here in Munich, with Roche Diagnostics, Sanofi, Lonza, the Gates Foundation, Microsoft, Accenture, and the University Clinic Schleswig-Holstein. So thank you very much, and greetings from Munich to everyone. We're excited to have you on board, and thank you for your ongoing support and trust. And what we have actually done in the past 5 batches, counting batch 0 over the past 2.5 years, is we had over 42 startups in the program from over 14 countries with over 40 events and over 200 matchmaking sessions with 70 mentors, where we were starting pilots, running pilots, and some of the business units from our corporate partners still work with the startups today. And how do these batches and the startups actually come up? Actually, the process of the sourcing period is longer than the program itself. Through a very dedicated process that you can see here, where we receive the focus topics from our corporate partners business unit, depending on what they are looking for and what solution or service they would like to improve or integrate or implement. Our ventures team goes and looks for the right startups within and outside our network to really fit the business need of our corporate partners. And through an iterative process over 4 months, we find the right startups for our business units, for the corporate partners. And at the end of that, the startups and the corporate partners decide who wants to work together, and then we invite them to the kickoff, like today's kickoff of batch 5 after this 4-month filtering process that we are very proud of. And we congratulate the 11 startups from 8 countries for our Batch 5 program. So welcome, Batch 5 startups. We are very much looking forward to your pitches and presentation of your business today. We are very impressed to see that we are having 11 startups from 8 countries today, as you can see here on the map. And thank you for dialing in remotely from all kind of time zones, for standing up early, for being up late, and for sharing what you do in your business. We have startups from various parts of the healthcare spectrum, starting with flu diagnostic, future of the lab, sepsis, instant experience, diabetes care, and many more. So please stay tuned, and we are very much looking forward to your participation, and good luck for the batch with the best possible outcome. And we're happy to have you on board. So before we kick it off, we have a little surprise video for you today, because healthcare and the development of digital healthcare obviously is important to all of us. And without the support of our politicians, this wouldn't be possible. And Dr. Gottfried Ludewig, the Director General of Digitalization and Innovation of the Ministry of Health, has prepared a little surprise video for us today to support our efforts. And I would like to show this video to you now for all of us.
So, dear ladies and gentlemen, dear friends of digitalization, first of all, thank you very much for inviting me. And I'm really sorry. Unfortunately, I can't be with you today as we have a lot of things going on here in Berlin. However, startups have a crucial role in spearheading digitalization. We started our Directorate General on Digitalization Innovation 2 years ago. Within the ministry, we consider ourselves not only as the spokesperson of the startup community, but also as a kind of startup by our very own nature. After all, we are younger than many startups in the audience, I assume at least. In the last 2 years, it was our priority to get things moving in Germany and Europe. Not the easiest task, but a very gratifying endeavor. With the Digital Healthcare Act, we introduced a new pathway for digital health applications into the German healthcare market, including reimbursement, our, as we call it, Apps auf Rezept, or software as a medical device, something really brand new worldwide. Recently, we paved the way for the use of electronic health record, Patient Data Protection Act. As of 2023, citizens will also be able to donate their treatment data stored in the electronic health records for research purposes. But if you ask me about the biggest challenge, we will all agree that 2020 was a special year. COVID-19 demonstrated the importance of digital transformation and the role it can play. Startups, small and medium enterprises and large industry became important partners in the process of mitigating the pandemic. Within months, corona tracing apps, for example, were designed, adapted and introduced across Europe. This month, the EU Gateway Server became operational, and several EU member states will be able to exchange the respective contact keys across borders. At the beginning of the current German presidency of the European Council, we all called for the European Health Data Space, a common policy area which allows health data to travel across borders. With the EU Gateway for Corona tracing apps, we now see that a common European approach is indeed possible, and not within years, but it was possible within weeks and months. And this shows us all we need more concrete use cases which demonstrate the added value of health data access and exchange on national and international level. Here, health startups can make a difference for the individual and for society. Citizens and healthcare professionals, but also regulators, need your support in developing the tool for digital transformation. We need your energy, we need your positive mindset, we need your knowledge to really foster digitalization in Europe. From our side, we took initiative through, for instance, the Health Innovation Hub and other initiatives to bring startups and the healthcare community together. One upcoming event will be the high-level conference Digital Health 2020 EU on the Move, in which we will join forces with all key stakeholders, including, obviously, startup representatives, to demonstrate the value of new technologies, especially artificial intelligence, for citizens. I invite you all to share data, collaborate for better health, and actively participate in shaping the European health data space. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ludewig, for sharing these motivational words with us and for mentioning how important a positive mindset is, and that healthcare is now more important than ever, and that co-creation and collaboration is key to drive the healthcare space in the future. And to mention the Health Innovation Hub, today's keynote speaker we're very proud of and honored to have you here, the chairman of the Health Innovation Hub of the Ministry of Health, Mr. Jörg Debertin. Thank you for joining us today remotely and for taking the time to share some thoughts and for holding a keynote for our event. So Mr. Debertin, stage is yours, and thank you very much for your time.
Well, thanks very much, Friederike, for this kind intro. And just listening to Gottfried sort of share his thoughts, I think this it's an ideal way for me to segue from that. And in doing so, let me sort of move on to my slides, which I'm now happy to share with your audience. And it really is about how digital health has evolved as a new normal in Germany. And I'm sure the reasons are not necessarily unique to Germany. Of course, the main reason, the main cause of the tailwind that we're all sort of experiencing is the corona pandemic. With all its negative effects, it has one positive, and that is people are actually becoming appreciative of what digital tools can actually do to mitigate their plight. It's interesting because it's really the first time, at least in a German context, that people are experiencing the benefits of digital tools. And so we really, when we discuss the pros and cons of digitization of healthcare, we now have a use case to point to that really many people sort of experience. And of course, the Corona Warn app was already talked about, lots of users. Of course, it could always be better than it is. When we look at the number of infections that are registered, still a very small number, but still it's a sort of a one tool that is being used, and I'm sure it's going to become increasingly important as the weeks and months drag on. Another example is the use of video consultation. The beginning of the pandemic, it became clear that we wanted to keep patients at home, away from their doctor's offices, but still wanted to give them access to their physicians for advice and for
Mr. Debertin, unfortunately, we cannot hear you. The internet seems to be unstable. Maybe you could try to log in again or to switch off your camera for better stability. And now please unmute yourself. Sorry about that.
Okay,
Now.
Muted. Here we go. Hopefully you can actually hear me again. And I will try to move back to my slides so at least I can see them. Hopefully you will be able to sort of see them also.
Unfortunately, right now we cannot see your slides. Maybe try again to unshare and share. Sorry.
Hold on one second. That may be due to the fact that, hold on one second. Here we go. All right, so we'll move back and you can hear me by now. And
I can hear you perfectly. We just cannot see a slide. Sorry about that.
That should now actually change. Can you see my slides?
Yes, perfect.
Awesome. All right.
Thank you.
So we are back in business with digital tools. Now the only thing that I have to do is actually make these slides so that I can see them. No, here we go. We've actually seen a major uptake of video consultation from about 1,500 doctors in January of this year to about 130,000 doctors that offer the service right now. And if you ask them, and we did just a couple of weeks ago, they really are surprised by how well it works. And many of them, the vast majority of them, want to continue the service even after the pandemic because now they've experienced the benefits of such digital interaction. It's much easier to actually talk to your patients. The threshold between patient and physician interaction is much lower. Other examples, of course, is home monitoring. Patients who are quarantined need to be taken care of. So we need new devices, sensoring devices to take care of these patients at home. And so a lot of smaller companies have actually seized the opportunity to bring their products into circulation and really help again to take care of these patients that, you know, we want to keep a close leash on them, but we don't really want to see them because for risk of infection. So lots of examples. And then of course, also in the hospital space, there have been a lot of digital innovations. One of the main ones was driven by the intensive care physicians in Germany themselves, because they recognized early on, after seeing what had happened in Italy, that they needed an overview of the capacities within the intensive care world, and created an app that provides every day, every morning to this day, an overview of the actual capacities for intensive care treatments throughout Germany. So the idea, of course, is that patients, to give patients optimal care, regardless of whether they are getting sick in a hot spot or in an area that is less affected. So we can actually use all of our resources to best advantage to take care of these patients. And along with that, tele-ICU project sprung up. We were able to solve seemingly very difficult issues like we had with data privacy or sort of taking responsibility for patients, because now you have two teams interacting in the care of one patient. All of that was legally solved in a record time, just driven by the pandemic. So a lot of things have started moving because of the pandemic, and I'm sure that's not unique to Germany. I'm sure you're seeing this all over the world. And I can tell you, I think this is just making up for a good 5 to 10 years of gradual evolution. Now, this was not necessarily a given, because when we go back 2 years, and Gottfried Ludewig alluded to this early on in 2018, there was a poll done by the Bertelsmann Foundation, and they found the digitization digital health index in Germany to be dismal, 30, with the average being about 60. So we're really at the bottom of the poll here. And that was really, and then also when you asked Europeans, many of them, the people really wanted digital tools, but they didn't get them. 8 of 10 Europeans thought that digitization can actually help their healthcare, their personal healthcare. In Germany, it was a little bit less, but still only 24% thought that was not a good idea. The very vast majority did. And that was really sort of the starting point when Jens Spahn, our Minister of Health, came to power. He sort of recognized very early on that if there is to be a future in healthcare, it is going to be digital. So he started working on bigger projects like the electronic patient record system and some of the stuff that we will talk about in the next couple of minutes. As part of that evolution, the Health Innovation Hub was founded. It's a team of 15 experts with deep domain know-how at the intersection of digital tools and healthcare. And we really come from all kinds of backgrounds within that intersection. From a legal point of view, we look at it from a regulatory point of view, an entrepreneurial point of view. But then we also have, of course, data scientists and true medical experts, physicians, pharmacists, that type of expertise to bring it all together to make sure that at the end we can fulfill our mission, and that is to implement digital tools to improve the health welfare of patients. And there are really three different levers that we try to sort of use. Number one, we scout for new ideas, and that's why today's session is going to be very interesting also to me and our team. We then really serve as an in-house think tank for the Federal Ministry of Health, which is great. We are their only. We are not their only consultant, but they are our only customer. So we don't. We can actually tell them what we truly think without having to worry about the next gig. And then we support the implementation of various projects. Now, the key, and that's really the main belief of our group, and I think that's true, should be true for all techies who look at healthcare, is that technology is not an end on itself. Rather, it serves a purpose. It serves a purpose of actually improving medicine, improving the healthcare of patients. As we look at the main challenges that healthcare systems are confronting at this point, obviously there's patient safety, there is a demographic change which requires more productivity, otherwise we won't be able to pay for it long term. And then there is a virtual revolution in the uncovering of the biological basis of our organism. And we understand that we can exploit differences, genetic differences, to optimize therapy and diagnostics. And if we want to do this, we need to embrace what has happened in another space, and that is in the techie space, in the digitization space, where there has been a revolution of sorts with cloud computing and virtually unlimited storage at this point on one side. And on the other side, and I think that's just as important, we have found a way to provide people with ubiquitous access, unimpaired connectivity to these data. And through these smartphones and the distribution thereof, we've basically created a totally different playing field that now, taking together with the challenges of healthcare, will provide better care, more preventive medicine, connected medicine, and individualized medicine. In doing so, over the past 32 months, German regulators and German parliament has been fairly busy. We've basically created a map of different initiatives, different legal initiatives that are now coming together to form altogether a picture. We didn't wait on purpose until we knew it all and then came up with one law that solves everything, but rather chose an iterative process that consisted of 6 laws that focus on digital tools in medicine, and then 28 laws that actually combine this sort of with digital health components, or rather you got to subtract them. So there's actually then 22 laws that have these digital health components. So overall, we've created this map, this sort of picture, a regulatory picture, where we understand that it is not really perfect. It's an evolution. It will never be perfect. And when we look at this, we look at white spaces, and then sort of the question arises, is there something to be done to actually enhance the filling of that white space with digital tools? So having said that, really the basis of everything that we're doing is the electronic patient record system. And you all know that there's tons of data out there that is being stored, but predominantly where it actually originated from. And so with the electronic patient record system within Germany, for first time in a very heterogeneous system with 150 different statutory healthcare insurances, with 1,800 hospitals, with 180,000 physicians in the ambulatory care. All of these will be connected in addition to all pharmacists, and actually bring together their data of an individual patient so that that individual patient will have their electronic patient record system, which is really massive. And I'm sure everyone listening is going to appreciate the power that is associated with such an effort. Obviously, we're not the first country to do this, but I would say that we're probably the country which is actually has added the most complexity to it, because we chose a very safe path, and of course we have a rather heterogeneous healthcare environment. If you ask people before the pandemic, and this poll was taken in January 9 and 10 of this year, about half of them will say, yes, I want this thing. I'm sure if you were to repeat this, about 3/4, 80% would say, yes, I want this data repository because I've seen through Corona how important data can be and how important digital tools can be in helping me get my healthcare. In addition to that, we also recognize that digital apps were really being developed, and of course they were available, and many of them actually had tons of users. Also in Germany, unfortunately in Germany, as in many other countries, they lacked a true business case because remuneration was not really taken care of. And that really was changed with the DVG Fast Track, where a business case for these digital applications was created. And just the first 2 of these digital applications actually passed the certification process. And the big change here is that instead of waiting 3 years and having to prove the utility of your app with regard to patient benefit in RCTs, so instead of going through all of that work over a long period of time with high bars, we lowered the bar to the presentation of a credible benefit hypothesis that is being looked at by obviously regulators. When if they find this is credible, then the app will actually be introduced into the normal statutory healthcare system with 73 million insured people, so 73 million potential customers. It is, by the way, the largest homogeneous healthcare market in the Western world. And we're opening that market for 12 months to gather data to answer the question, is there benefit associated with this app or not? Obviously, the app needs to be safe. It has to have CE mark. And there are a bunch of other things, particularly as they pertain to data privacy and data security, that need to be taken care of. We actually, as I said, did just see the first 2 of these apps come to fruition. Calmeda, which looks at tinnitus patients, and then Velibra, that actually looks at patients with intermittent depression. So these 2 apps can now be prescribed by physicians in a manner very similar that they would prescribe a medication, or that they would prescribe other medical support products like crutches or things of that nature. So that's really new. So it's really software as a medical product that can now be prescribed, and is part of the regular care of the state-insured insurance system that we have in Germany. And of course, your imagination can run wild with regard to what kind of apps can be applied. If you're interested in finding out more, I recommend you reading the Diga Vademecum, which our group has put out. It's basically, unfortunately, at this point only in German. We're working on an English translation, which will make it clear of how to go through the process. It's not obviously trivial. After all, we're dealing with medical products. We're dealing with healthcare of patients that are relying on the safety and the functioning of these products. So this is not, this is not a gimmick. This is rather serious. You still have to put in a lot of effort, but compare this to what we had before. We've really opened the system massively, and I would expect the next 20 of these apps to actually come into the market over the next 3 to 6 months. So really a very interesting sort of atmosphere for startups, but not only for startups, also, of course, for large companies. And as if this was not enough, Germany has just started a massive initiative for digital tools in hospitals. In fact, the government has pledged 4.3 billion euros to be spent over the next 24 months on the digitization of the German hospital environment. There are 11 content areas where money is to be spent. For instance, closed loop medication. Obviously, computerized, automated physician order entry. Most hospitals would actually have that. But then there is tools to support ERs, planning, bed planning, and many other sort of areas of content that are going to be supported by these government grants. They're not repayable. This is really payment. This is really just sort of support to get the digital world in hospitals moving. Just how massive this is, just one number for comparison, the market size for German digitization in German hospitals is about 1.3 billion annually. So we're now adding 4.3 billion over 2 years to that number, which is really quite massive. So I hope that I was able to portray to you that number one, digital tools should really always serve a larger purpose, and that is you need to be measured. We all are going to be measured by outcome, by patient outcomes. Are we going to be able to make patient lives better, improve their healthcare with these tools? Otherwise, they just an end on themselves and really worthless from a healthcare point of view, at least. And the second is, yes, Germany is open for business with regard to digital healthcare because really two things coincided. And I wish the second part had not happened, which of course is the corona pandemic that everybody is suffering through. But we actually are lucky that we started laying the foundation for the implementation of these digital tools really just a year. We just started about a year and a half before corona hit. I wish we would have started earlier, and I'm sure we would be better off for that. Right now, we're just glad that we did start and we did lay a foundation. And based on that foundation and the experience with corona, which will drive acceptance of people as well as of physicians, I'm sure healthcare in Germany will become a lot more digital than it has been in the past. And with that, thank you very much for your attention. And Federica, I'm happy to sort of turn it back to you.
Yes, thank you very much for your time and for your insights. And I think we all learned a lot about this. A digital claps from all attendees, from my side and from everyone. And thank you for taking the time. I also think that it's important to see what Germany and the Health Innovation Hub does, and that we are all kind of going to the same direction and having the same goal to really, benefit the patient and have a healthier and better life for our patients. And this is what this is all about, of our lives, and healthcare is more important than ever. And I think it's great where this is going. And it's very motivating for startups as well to see how this is directing to. And thank you very much for your time and for the presentation, Mr. Debertin. Thank you.
You're very welcome. And good luck with your session. And really congratulations to all the work that you've done. And if I may just say this, healthcare is probably the only field that I know of that provides an intersection between, having a purpose and really being at the forefront of technologies. It's a very privileged situation, and it's a lot of fun.
That's true. I agree. Thank you very much. And we hope that you can stay online and that you can join us for the startup pitches and that you get to meet our startups as well. Thank you. All right. Thank you very much. Okay. Then talking about the startup pitches, we would like to continue with the core of this event, the startup pitches, learning a lot prior, but now, of course, this is really what this is all about. We will be starting with the Sanofi startup pitches, and I would like to welcome Karen Linehan, the Executive Vice President and General Counsel of Sanofi. Karen, nice to meet you virtually, and thank you very much for introducing Sanofi and the Sanofi startups for us today. And stage is yours. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and hello, everyone. It is a real pleasure to be here today. I'm very excited to launch a new batch of challenges with startups Creasphere. You should know the people from Sanofi who attended these events come back as true ambassadors for this initiative with a lot of enthusiasm. So I've waited quite a bit of time to come here, and I'm very excited. And given the current context, I'm glad the kickoff day is maintained, and holding it remotely gives more people an opportunity to attend and stay safe. As you know, Sanofi is dedicated to supporting people through their health challenges beyond the pills. And digital is a major component of integrated healthcare solutions. When joining Sanofi a year ago, Paul Hudson, our CEO, identified digital as an area of focus for the company. In this respect, the partnership with startup Creasphere has created a great way to connect with startups all over the world and serve our consumer healthcare ambition to accelerate our digital offers to our consumers. For those of you who don't know, Sanofi Consumer Healthcare is a business unit within Sanofi that ranks among the top 3 consumer healthcare organizations in the world. Each year, 2.2 billion boxes of our CHC products are distributed throughout the world. Today, people look for personalization of healthcare treatments and greater empowerment in managing their day-to-day health. The pandemic has only accelerated this trend. And for CHC, this means we must evolve our business to incorporate digital solutions with our traditional over-the-counter products that meet consumer needs. The two companies selected for the flu self-diagnosis and the next OTC level of in-store experience challenges are working on promising developments in these areas. Our internal teams have already been working hard and over the last months on their projects. I know we will see some great pitches today. Now, before leaving them the floor, as the head of Sanofi's Legal, Ethics, and Business Integrity Department, I want to stress the importance of the close partnering between my teams and operations. For instance, the Sanofi CHC legal team helps frame the relationship between Sanofi and the startups during the test and learn phase, as well as preparing the potential next steps. We play a key role in the potential pilot and the negotiations. Prior to reaching such a pilot, we will need to test the selected solution. So let's learn more about them. Frederic, back to you.
Thank you, Karen, and also thank you for explaining more about the legal angle of this partnership and how important it is for the entire development and co-creation together. And now I'd like to hand over the word to my dear colleague, Fabian, our venture associate, who sourced for the startups together with the team on the ground and who will be leading the startup pitches and the Q&A. And we encourage you to please ask questions for the startup pitches. Thank you very much.
Hello and welcome also from my side. My name is Fabian, and as Friederike already mentioned, I'm primarily coordinating with my team here on the ground. Well, the selection process around the startups you will see in a moment. But just as a quick recap, before we dive into the startup pitches, we're using Slido for the questions. So in case you want to interact, you want to direct any questions towards the startups, please go to www.sly.do and use the code batch5. I will then go through the questions and well, direct the questions towards the startups. Besides that, in case, of course, if you have any questions in the meantime afterwards, please feel free to reach out to us. We're more than happy to get you in touch with all the startups or direct the questions to them. So that being said, let's jump into the first startup from Sanofi. We will see Garamantis. Garamantis has developed a very new well, shopping and retail experience, and how that fits into pharma and what they're doing. Well, Norbert will tell you all about it. So the stage is yours, Norbert.
Hi, Fabian. Hello, everyone. Let me just share my screen with you. Hold on a second. I hope you can all see me, and I hope that you can see my charts now. First of all, let me say a warm thank you to Sanofi and Plug and Play for inviting us to participate in this batch. We are very honored, and I would like to use the next 5 minutes to introduce you to Garamantis. We are a German-based, Berlin-based company that is specialized in interactive technologies. And we believe that, or let's say it's our mission to inspire and convince the clients and the customer at every live touch point. So, no matter if it's trade fairs, events, or your own showroom, we do believe that live offers you the most valuable touch points with your target group. We offer the right tools and technologies in order to create emotions and interactions because we think that they are key to customer excitement. We translate goals into experiences. Let it be from the first ideas, from the first pitch to the rollout to audience as we relate to it. We are trying to bring in your clients, or let's say make them dive deeper into your brand and product world in a very playful and immersive and intuitive way. Having said that, we are using lots of technologies, such as, for instance, virtual reality, augmented reality, multi-touch technologies, interactive projections, and also all kinds of sensor tech like camera, laser, radar, or LiDAR systems. Here are some examples of our past work. We did, for instance, the showroom for the European Space Agency in Frascati in Italy. We equipped it with lots of technologies, interactive screens, interactive installations in order to tell about the story of the European Space Agency in a very, very immersive way. Also, we're doing corporate exhibitions, such, for instance, with SAP, where we used interactive installations, interactive screens, in order to tell the story of SAP in a very immersive way. Together with the with the Ministry of Economic Cooperation and Development, we are working on different trade fairs. For instance, what you can see here is an installation we did for them for the Green Week, the Grüne Woche here in Berlin last year. It is a dome, an immersive dome, where you can watch a 360-degree video in a very immersive way. We installed sensual things like, for instance, the heat. You can watch the video and feel the heat, smell sand or fish or whatever it is, right? What you can see or experience in the 360-degree video. We do high-level presentations, such, for instance, for the German Air Force, where I did the presentation with the German German President. Also, we do prototyping, rapid prototyping and minimal viable products within workshops. Here we work closely together with our key partner, Ars Electronica from Austria. We help retailers and brands to transform their point of sale into a point of experience. What you can see here is an interactive showcase where you can present your products in a very immersive and playful way again. We work together with many museums, for instance, with the German Spy Museum in Berlin, equipping them with the latest technologies. And also we are working with international science centers, such as, for instance, the Mexican Science Center in Sinaloa, which we equip with a deep space, which is a immersive installation that is, again, interactive and offers you an opportunity to dive into scientific content. We're very proud that we also work with the German Bundesregierung on a virtual event, which took place or even now takes place as a virtual exhibition for the German Unity. 30 years of German Unity, we did a virtual event based on Mozilla Hubs, where you can basically immerse yourself and experience the exhibition in a virtual way. And we're very happy that we got invited by Sanofi to participate in this batch and working on our view on the future of pharmacy, where we created several modules that can be implemented in a pharmacy within the next years. So to put it together in a couple of sentences, we're a full service company, and we, let's say, accompany our clients from kickoff to wow, starting with consulting and doing the concepts and ending with installation, rollout, and everything that's in between. Garamantis by numbers, we got founded in 2014, so we're 6 years old. We have full-time employees, 8. We have 8 of them. We have 2 showrooms, one in Berlin, and last year we opened our showroom in Singapore together with a partner there, a local partner. We have one office or atelier or workshop here at the Europe campus in Berlin-Schöneberg, which is the Center for Sustainable Energies. And we work closely together with the operator OF AG. We are proud to say that there is no venture capital and no investors in Garamantis at the moment, and we grew organically throughout the last 6 years. So that's it. Here's our team, our core team that also works on the Sanofi batch, and we are happy to work together with you, and I'm more than happy to answer your questions. Thank you.
Fantastic, Norbert. Thank you so much for that great presentation. We actually already have the first questions coming in, so sure. I will directly shoot at you and you can answer them. So first of all, do you have any metrics on how the sales improved using or after implementing your solution?
So what we can say is obviously I'm not allowed to share any numbers here because most of that happened under NDA. But what I can say is that the experience from let's say, for instance, a retailer we work together in Singapore told us that people stay for longer at their point of sale because it's obviously something where you can play with the installation, the showcase, which I just showed you a minute ago. So no, sorry, unfortunately, I cannot tell you any numbers, but what I can tell you that, for instance, the number of minutes people spend at the point of sale, obviously before COVID-19 hit us all, increased.
Okay, fantastic. You just mentioned COVID-19. Actually, we have one question also targeting that. So for your upcoming, sales and for your upcoming strategy to implement your solution, what measures do you take in terms of, safety and securing, the customers in the end when they use your touch screens, when they use your solutions?
So at the moment, we're working closely on a project with Fraunhofer Institute where we want to introduce touchless touch. So it's based on a new technology which enables you to use touchscreens without actually touching them. That's one part, but obviously we also see that there is a decrease in visiting physical spaces, which is why we now focus a lot on virtual experiences and try to basically translate the experiences we had on site now into virtual surroundings.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much. There are a bunch of other questions, but unfortunately we don't have the time to go through all of them. But as I mentioned, also we have one question by Kazik. Please feel free to reach out to us, to me, to my team, to our team, and we're more than happy to get you connected and also get you in touch. So then moving on to the next. Thanks, Noel. Then moving on to the next company, it's the Mexican-based company Unima. They've developed a platform that could potentially service around 3 billion people. And how they do it and what it has to do with shark antibodies, Jose Luis will tell you all about it. Jose, hello. The stage is yours.
Thank you. So first of all, I want to say thank you to Sanofi and the Creasphere program for inviting us to participate in this project, which we know it could impact the lives of millions. So in the following 5 minutes, I want to give you a brief overview of what we do in Unima. Today, to get a COVID test, you have to go to a clinical lab, pay over $100 and wait days for your result. The process is slow, expensive, and annoying. But the most important thing is not available for most of the world's population. In Unima, we design diagnostic tests to secure a timely diagnostic for everyone, anywhere. The problem that we're solving is the lack of access to a timely diagnostic for more than half of the world's population due to the centralization of diagnostic and clinical labs. Current diagnostic technologies can detect almost any disease known with a very high level of precision. However, these depend on decentralized labs with expensive equipment and specialized personnel, which makes it impossible to scale up to an universal access to the diagnostic. To solve this problem, we developed FIND, a fast and low-cost diagnostic and real-time disease surveillance platform technology, which allows anyone, even those with no medical or technical training, to diagnose a disease directly where the patient is without using lab equipment, with results in 15 minutes and at cost that can go as low as $1 per test. So with this technology, we are taking diagnostic out of the lab and to the place you need it now, even in the most remote places of the world. Our technology is based in shark antibodies modified with genetic engineering to generate a visual reaction when these detect disease biomarkers in blood, urine, or saliva samples. We print these shark proteins in microfluidic devices, and the visual reaction is evaluated with a smartphone app that runs image analysis processes and artificial intelligence algorithms to generate a final result. Automatically, the result, along with contextual information like geolocation, date, and time, is sent to a cloud server where it's used for real-time disease surveillance, which helps healthcare organizations and companies to create better strategies and products to stop disease outbreaks. In a $23 billion market, we are targeting diagnostic applications for global and public health diseases, as well as tests to support therapeutics in the pharmaceutical market and applications to detect animal and crop diseases on the farm. Our business model, we call it diagnostic platform as a service, in which we work with business to business with large users as healthcare organizations, pharmaceutical companies, and governments, developing tailored tests over our platform that solve a specific challenge in disease diagnostic that these organizations have. So we design, develop, validate, and manufacture the tests for our customers. Our revenues come from testing devices sold, and in the next stage, we provide paid access to statistical data and analytics to healthcare professionals. Over the FIND platform, our first developed product is a blood-based antibody test for the triage and screening of patients with active tuberculosis, which is in the process of pilots in 7 countries and in contracts for around 6 million tests per year, and to be launched in the first quarter of next year with customers in Indonesia, Mexico, Paraguay, and Malaysia. And to solve the problem of a timely diagnostic for COVID, we developed a test to detect the COVID virus in saliva samples to screen patients with suspected infections. So this test was developed as an over-the-counter test to be used at home, at work, or at school, with results in 5 minutes, automatic generation of patient result passes, and real-time report to the national COVID programs in each country. This test was developed to be very easy to use, even by people without any previous training on its use. In less than 5 minutes, you can detect a COVID infection directly where you are at just a fraction of the cost of current tests. Therefore, it can be used as a routine testing in a weekly basis for early detection of cases. Additionally to the tuberculosis and COVID test that we will launch in the following 4 months, we are currently in the development phase of new tests for dengue and urinary tract infections. The collaboration project with Sanofi will be focused on the influenza area. For future developments, we are also targeting the development of new tests for infectious and non-communicable diseases, as well as applications in animal and crop health, and for the detection of non-disease situations, for example, like toxins, allergens, or water quality. We are a second-time founder team. Together in a previous startup, we developed a pharmaceutical technology for animal health, which we own in 14 countries in partnership with a global pharmaceutical company. Therefore, we have proven experience taking a new technology from the lab to the global market. In UNIMA, we have been supported by leading acceleration programs like Y Combinator, the Stanford X program, Google Launchpad, Math Challenge, and Endeavor. We have been funded by different organizations, including Grand Challenges Canada, Google, and Science and Technology Ministers of Germany and Mexico, and International Bank of Development. We have been also funded by investors from Silicon Valley, the United Kingdom, and Latin America. And well, in UNIMA, we have a very clear mission: to secure a timely diagnostic for everyone, anywhere. Thank you.
Thank you, Jose. That's a very novel goal, and I'm convinced you will achieve good and great things with your platform and together with our partner, Sanofi. We actually already have the first questions coming in. Amongst them, the question is about regulatory approval. So do you already have, well, besides looking only at your tuberculosis test, but then also COVID-19, what's the status for the CE/FDA approval?
Yeah, so the tuberculosis test, it's in approval process in the European Union. Mexico was already approved, and we are running local processes in different countries. For the COVID test specifically, we are applying for FDA because it is a product that will be focused on the beginning on the US and some Latin American countries. We are also running at the same time the CE mark process. We have already customers for Spain and Germany. And we are also running in other countries, including Malaysia and Argentina and Chile right now.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much. Moving to the next question. It is about the sensitivity and specificity of your COVID test.
Mm-hmm. So our antigen test right now, we are increasing our clinical trial numbers, but today the test has a 98% sensitivity and 99% specificity. This is something that, for example, FDA is really important because this kind of test should be used, for example, for mass screening of patients. So even that you're going to use repeatedly this kind of test, you at least should have a sensitivity over 95% in order to make it this a really useful test for COVID.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. One more question. What is the specific advantage for using shark antibodies compared to others?
That's a good question. So why are we using shark antibodies? So shark antibodies are the smallest natural antibodies known to date. They are very simple. They're actually like 1/3 of the size of a mammal antibody, and they only have one domain. So this makes these antibodies very simple. So we can express a high concentration of these antibodies using bacteria in bioreactors that decreases a lot the manufacturing cost. But the most important thing about shark antibodies is that they are heat resistant. So for example, you can actually boil a shark antibody, and when it cools down, it only loses like 8% of activity. So that increases a lot the stability of the product, even in harsh conditions. So you can ship this product, for example, to very hot and humid regions of Africa without any cold chain, and you will have, for example, the possibility of using for 3 years without any problem with shelf life. So it's actually important for the kind of application that we're looking for in developing countries.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Jose Luis, for that presentation, for answering all the questions. Up to now, we've already seen a lot of content and a lot to digest. So we would jump into a quick bio break of about 10 minutes and then kick things off with our Roche startups.
Hello and welcome back to the second half of the kickoff of the Batch 5 program today. Thank you very much for staying on the call or in the event. Next up, we have the Roche pitches and an introduction by Dr. Jochen Holebaus, Head of Digital Health Innovations at Roche Diagnostics. And Jochen, he's here in person, so stage is yours. Thank you for coming.
Also, welcome from my side, and thanks a lot for the intro and for organizing. I think we already had a great first part of the event today, of the kickoff. And I'm actually very thankful that we can drive this forward in an increasing, exciting matter, despite the a bit unusual times that we have currently. So this is great that everybody is coming, is participating. I'm especially thankful to the startups from all around the globe that are participating today, are pitching, went through our selection process already, and are, I'm sure, also excited to share today about what they want to do, what they want to bring to the healthcare system in digital innovation. As you know, we are active globally now also, not just with the startups that we have here today, but we are active in the Silicon Valley, we are active in Singapore, where we are currently running so-called Batch 0, a first batch that is targeted to specific startups from global, but also from our local affiliates that have been selected. And next week, we will actually also have a joint session between the startups here in the Batch 5 of Munich and the Batch 0 of Singapore with a joint mentoring. So this is also very, very exciting for us. Now, that said, and I think we learned today, implementation of healthcare at the end is a local game. It's unfortunately not a global game, right? So there are a lot of local things that you have to consider. And I'm very, very also grateful and want to thank Gottfried Ludewig and Jörg Debertin for their speeches today, for highlighting what they are doing to transform healthcare. I think very nicely and also very exciting for me is that they have actually, looking at what they presented and how they presented it was almost like another startup pitch, right? They actually said, yeah, we need to experiment. We made some framework laws, but we are learning on the go. We are trying to change things to make it adaptive to the needs of digital health, of the patients, of the providers, of the startups. And I think that's the right way. And I'm super excited that Germany is moving ahead in that speed. And I'm sure a lot of our startups can also benefit from that new way of doing things. So today I want to also now spend a couple of words on the focus topics that we are working on. So I think we have 2 slides here prepared. One is more our general slide, and the guests or the visitors here that have been watching us before on the batches, they have seen a similar slide, probably just in a different layout. Because our overall focus areas are not necessarily changing, right? We are on the one hand working on our internal value chain. This is more tools for R&D, where we want to improve the way we develop products or we validate products. But then we have the customer solutions as a second step, where we work on solutions for the lab, which is more our traditional customer, but then also for physicians and increasingly also going directly or indirectly to the patient. At the end, and we shouldn't really forget that the benefits. So what do we bring to the healthcare systems together with the startups we are working on? And I think this is very, very important. You need to create some value, but you also need to prove that to create the value that's actually promising in order to get some reimbursement. And I think the DIGA, again, going back to the speeches we have heard today from the Federal Ministry of Health, also went into that direction. Then on the next slide, we have just briefly outlined the startups that you will see today. So it's a broad mix on our focus topics. We have one startup in the area of the internal value chain, and then we have a few startups, actually 5, that are focused on customer solutions, more focused on physicians and patients. But then actually we're also happy to have a startup that is focusing on the value-based healthcare to actually measure outcome, which might sound easier than it is at the end, to really measure in a concise way with the digital solutions or with any solution. Am I actually improving the outcome of the patient? am I at the same time improving or reducing the costs or improving the efficiency at the hospital or at the doctor? Unfortunately, also because we have quite fragmented data silos still in healthcare, that is actually quite a difficult task. And we are happy to also now have startups that are focusing on that area and looking into value-based healthcare as a concept that is emerging and is a big trend. So that's all from my side. So I wish everybody a great set of pitches and hope to also, well, actually look very much forward to the next months when we will be working with the startups together. Thank you.
Thank you, Jochen, for the great insights into, well, the vision for the upcoming batch from a Roche perspective, but also thank you very much for the continuously great collaboration we have here, and now coming to batch 5, really seeing the, well, alignment we have established. That being said, just as a quick reminder, because before we jump into the first pitch of a Roche startup, for questions, we use Slido, so please go to www.slide.do and enter the code batch5. You will directly come to an interface where you can type in your questions and direct them towards here to my iPad, and then I will, well, forward the questions and ask the questions to startup. That being said, we're then jumping quickly to the first startup. It's LabTwin. So if you've ever worked in a laboratory, you might know that it is very paper-driven and that you tend to lose notes. There are solutions out there, and I would say LabTwin has developed a very, very concise and good, suitable solution. So I'd love to welcome Magdalena to take us away and give more insights about LabTwin.
Thank you. Please share my screen.
Fantastic, we can see his key.
Cool. Welcome everyone, pleasure to be here. My name is Magdalena Paluch, I'm the CEO of LabTwin. Our mission is to remove data graveyards with voice first and AI-powered digital lab assistant. LabTwin is a solution for real-time capture and access of information. We are an international startup based in Berlin. We have a very heterogeneous team of experts from various fields: life science, data science, engineering, design, bioinformatics, and change management. We are backed by Sartorius, a large laboratory equipment supplier, and Boston Consulting Group. Because of that, we have an agile and creative DNA of a startup while offering dependability of established processes, security, and support of a large corporation. We are now working with 7 out of the top 20 large pharma and chemical companies, as well as with some academic labs and CROs, both in Europe and in US. In the last decade, we moved from paper to glass, and by glass I mean electronic lab notebooks mostly. And although glass enabled us to capture data in a digital format, it made it still difficult, and these systems are now being referred to as graveyards of data. We want to make data truly dynamic, that can be accessed from anywhere, can be captured effortlessly, structured automatically, and finally, it can be harmonized across the organization. But for now, still the single common thread connecting all information in the lab is a scientist. We have been to hundreds of labs and we've witnessed the challenges facing laboratories from data integrity perspective. In every single lab, we saw scientists working at the bench, very much disconnected from the most of the lab informatics software. We saw them interrupting what they were doing whenever they needed to get information during the experiment, and taking the time at the end of the day to report the notes and results in a clean digital format. In short, the experimentation and documentation were disconnected entirely. And often the delay between these two activities meant that the data was being lost or eventually recorded incorrectly. This delay in documentation can vary from 5 minutes all the way to 4 weeks in our current client's organization. It almost always results in more inadequate documentation, increased human error, and cognitive overload for scientists or technicians running 4 to 6 experiments in parallel. This, of course, impairs reproducibility and speed. Collecting, formatting, and transcribing notes are labor and time-intensive tasks. around minimum of 30 minutes per day per scientist is spent copying notes from annotated protocols, paper notebook, post-its, all onto Excel tables and ELNs. We are quite confident that this valuable time can be invested much more wisely. LabToon is available as a mobile application and web platform to address both the bench and the office or remote work. It is capable of understanding scientific context, workflows, and vocabulary. We pre-train our natural language processing model on the client's precise protocols, but also LabToon continuously learns from the user and it gets better. With LabToon, scientists can capture notes, follow verbally guided SOPs, or query databases directly from the point of experiment. The data is directly formatted in a structured manner as a table exportable to Excel or semi-automatically composed into a report. LabToon is hands-free, so scientists can still wear gloves under the hood or handle animal surgery while capturing notes. Basically, gloves stay on and research continues. All the notes are gathered in one place, preventing data loss and unnecessary search and aggregation of fragmented information afterward. And the transcription step is removed by immediate digitization at the point of experiment. Scientists find it useful for bespoke work in method development, for capturing deviations, troubleshooting, which makes it easier to reproduce their work. LabToon has proven to be very helpful during in vivo studies and imaging work, enabling keeping not only hands, but also eyes on the experiment. In cell culture, scientists capture and access information without leaving the hood, degloving or contaminating the samples. And we're currently developing capabilities to support the workflows in the GMP space, where the time-saving benefits of LabToon and contemporaneous documentation are even more impactful. Lastly, analytics and automation groups also see value in LabToon, especially when it comes to helping them automate highly manual processes and labeling data for better harmonization. LabToon, of course, works out of the box if you want to use it as a documentation tool. But since our mission is to make information dynamic, contextual, and actionable in real time, LabToon is more powerful when connected. We make it easy to do so with our API. Lastly, LabToon is final stages of getting ISO certification and will soon be able to support all the Alcoa Plus principles. Thank you, and we are very excited to work with you.
Thank you very much, Magdalena, for the great presentation and the insights in your solution. Well, we already had the first question coming in, and it is, given that your solution is based a lot of on the spoken word. So how many languages do you cover at the moment? Is it only English, or do you have further languages there?
It's a very good question. So at the moment, of course, we support language because that's where the technology is developed the furthest. However, we are gearing up to also be able to cater to German, and then we'll be able to scale also in the near future to other languages.
Fantastic. Well, a question alongside this one is then, how does your expansion plan look like? When do you want to expand beyond Germany, Europe, and then globally?
So that's purely, actually, it is not location specific, it's more language preferences. So right now, a lot of our clients are everywhere in Europe, Germany, France, Belgium, Switzerland, and also in US. So we're not limited in terms of location. As I mentioned, if there's English speakers, LabToon works really well. And then we are planning on expanding to different languages. So there's no limits, let's say.
That's fantastic. Well, one last question. The data around data protection of employees. How do you see there any problems implementing your solutions and then looking at it from a data protection angle?
Of course. So as I mentioned, we are finishing ISO certification right at this moment. We take security very seriously. And of course, we're based in Germany, and we are all our operations are GDPR compliant. So we take, of course, data belongs to our customers, and we take it very seriously. I'm happy to share any details on all our security measures that we take after the talk.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much, Magdalena. It was great having you. And also thank you for the presentation again and answering all the questions.
Thank you.
All right, so then moving on to the next one. It's HS Blocks. They're based out of Atlanta, and they, well, formed a platform where they can combine multiple stakeholders across the patient journey. How they do it and how they cope with the issues coming alongside with it, Lynn will tell you more about it and give you insight into HS Blocks.
Thank you very much. I'll get my slides going here. Hopefully everyone can see my slides. So thanks to Roche as well as Plug and Play for bringing HS Blocks into the Creasphere ecosystem here in batch 5. And also greetings to our audience from Atlanta, Georgia in the US. Start by giving a little bit of background on our company. We started the company in 2017. We were funding the venture ourselves at this point in time, but we are pleased to talk about our historic background in use of machine learning as well as distributed ledger technology. Our goal with HS Blocks was to bring into the healthcare ecosystem 2 primary technologies, outputs of machine learning and use of permissioned access to data via distributed ledger from experiences that we had in both healthcare as well as fintech in the past. We are an organization that has also done quite a bit of work in track and trace in the supply chain area. This particular venture, we are involved with human biological sample tracking in the life sciences area, but more specifically, we are also focused on community care networks, where we're doing social determinants of health work in the US today. We're pleased to have the opportunity to work with the Roche team, specifically in Argentina, with a community-based approach that they are doing, specifically as it relates to patient outcomes, as well as integration of, at the community level, physicians, labs, and patients. Our platform has sort of 4 key areas that we emphasize: patient status tracking, where we do different identification protocols and then do assessments, refer patients out to particular service providers, and then confirm services that have been rendered. The purpose being to share that information on a permission basis with patient consent across the ecosystem to various stakeholders. To do some of that work, we have built a communication engine that we use for integration with the different stakeholders in the ecosystem to bring both structured data as well as unstructured data, so charts and notes and things of and images and things of that nature, into a comprehensive data set. That comprehensive data set is actually something we refer to as a longitudinal health record. In that record, we have built a patient matching algorithm to be able to bring different disparate sources of data together, aggregate them into different ontologies, and then serve that information up on a permission basis to the various stakeholders, which we'll talk about here in just a second. The smart contracts that we codify from a distributed ledger standpoint are where we are doing the governing of who receives what information, how much, and under what purview they are to receive that information. Also use those smart contracts for different business process automation components within the ecosystem. So from a globalization standpoint, our platform and our solutions on the platform support multi-byte characters, localization and globalization, and so they are we're prepared to deploy internationally. From a security and privacy standpoint, we are a SOC 2 Type 2 audited platform across all trust principles, with our auditors being Grant Thornton here in the United States. Our key partnerships, as I mentioned, Roche, certainly from the startup Creasphere, working on the Pioneer project with the team in Argentina, to bring patients, labs, and healthcare providers together on a network for permission data sharing. In the US, we're working with a large independent Blue Cross Blue Shield plan in the social determinants area to connect them with local community-based organizations. We had some discussion earlier in the presentations about healthcare being delivered at a local level. This project is to bring community organizations as well as social service agencies into connectivity with patients as well as healthcare providers. We are also a Microsoft Healthcare startup partner. Our use case that I've alluded to is in the social determinants area, where, and we talked a little bit earlier in the presentations about COVID-19 pandemic and how that has impacted vulnerable populations who have health inequities. And so at a neighborhood level, we are focused on bringing different disparate participants into the ecosystem and putting them on a platform for data sharing. It was mentioned, I think, in a couple of the presentations that interoperability and data sharing from different source systems is a challenge. That is one of the things that we are tackling in our organization. And to that end, we have also built a interoperability component called Yantra that is specifically geared for that purpose. From a IoT standpoint, natural language processing standpoint, bringing different structured and unstructured data into the system to address some of the more pertinent needs at the patient level, with the idea being to improve not only the patient experience, but also patient outcomes. Here's
sorry for the interruption, but looking at the time, we're slightly over and I unfortunately have to cut you here.
Okay.
Regardless, we have a lot of questions, so I'm happy to address them towards you.
Sure.
And happy to share any further information afterwards. So first question, how do you plan to further develop your CuraBox platform?
So what we're focused on right at this point in time is bringing different stakeholders onto the platform. So we have different recruitment mechanisms using advocates to bring those organizations onto the platform. And then we will ultimately, as we see more data, do more machine learning approaches to optimize referrals within that network.
Okay, fantastic. And then one more question. It's about patient consent management. So how do you specifically enable the patient to pursue his consent management?
Sure. So we, with our Yantra tool, we have the ability to capture patient consent via smartphone, email, or audio or video recordings. And that information then can be used to interact with the smart contracts on the platform to share data on a permission basis where the patient's consent is needed.
Okay, fantastic. One last question from our side. So your platform is based on blockchain. Could you name some advantages and disadvantages you see to your solution using that technology?
Sure. I think that the primary advantage is to bring folks into an ecosystem where there's traceability and accountability, as well as the provenance of the data to ensure that what you see is what I see. And from that standpoint, be able to then govern who receives that information on a replicated real-time basis using the smart contracts as the governing mechanism.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much, Lynn, for all the answers, for that great presentation. Happy to have you and looking forward to what you will do with our partner, Roche.
Very good. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
So, moving on to the next one, we're going to see Redivus Health. They've developed a solution which comes into place in a very hectic environment is targeted to support emergency room staff, which diseases they cover and how they do it. Jeff will be happy to give you some more insights during his presentation.
I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here.
Well, Fabian, thank you. And thank you to the team of Roche and Plug and Play for having us. My name is Jeff Dunn. I'm the founder and CEO of Redivivus Health. Redivivus is Latin for to bring back to life. And we have a company and a team that very much is driven by optimizing patient safety during time-critical events, such as cardiac arrest and sepsis. As you know, sepsis it affects about 50 million people in the world every year and leads to greater than 10 million lives lost worldwide. That makes up about 1 in 5 deaths across the globe. We believe at Redivivus Health that these time-critical events where a nurse or a doctor needs to make a split-second decision, there needs to be simple, easy-to-use software that can give you the turn-by-turn navigation through these events. Sepsis costs about $27 billion just in the United States alone, so it is one of the most costly diagnoses that we have in the United States. With our hospital partners to date, they're currently using our solution. We have found that sepsis is being missed up to 50% of the time, obviously leading to lives lost. And an interesting piece of research and data suggests that not making the sepsis diagnosis every hour that you spend not diagnosing that patient leads to an 8% increase in their mortality. So we have created at Redivivus Health an augmented intelligence solution that helps the nurse and the doctor to make those timely diagnoses in a time-sensitive fashion. It is supported on every form factor, including a phone, a tablet, or a workstation. And what we're trying to do is simplifying data to improve the diagnostic accuracy and efficiency of this incredibly time-sensitive diagnoses. What it currently acts as is a screening and diagnosis and compliance system right now, and also is used for the data that's gathered by it is used for reporting purposes. And what this does is it increases clinical accuracy, provider efficiency, and ultimately leads to provider confidence treating these emergency conditions. We are a team made up of doctors such as myself. We were founded by 5 doctors and are led by a team of critical care nurses and passionate technologists. Again, the technology has to be incredibly easy to use during a time-critical event. So simple, easy to implement is really at the forefront of how we've designed the tool. It's a blend of decision support, real-time documentation, and data analytics. And here's a screenshot, ultimately seeing what our data analytics dashboard looks like for sepsis, as well as it's supported by tablet, as well as mobile phone apps, analytics, clinical guidance, and we take very, very seriously the idea of security. This next video shows you what it's like to launch our solution, and very easy to read here. The sepsis tool pulls in data from the EMR to be able to make, to let the nurse know that these are abnormalities. So it's seen as an education and a decision support tool. As we go through your journey of diagnosing a sepsis patient, it listens to the EMR to make sure that the user, a nurse and a doctor, are making the right clinical ordering decisions. This is a patient with a respiratory illness, a pneumonia, and you can see that the sepsis outcome is above. Again, launching this from the digital record. As we click in here, we see what the sepsis severity is, and it's, again, pulling data from the EMR to be able to make the tool easier so that the clinical folks can make better decisions and better diagnosis and treatment decisions. As you continue to the end here, you're able to enable smart notifications so that a nurse and a doctor can make those critical decisions for a patient in the time that's needed to be made, which is the 3 and 6 hour bundle. All while capturing all of the decisions that are made to the second, which is incredibly important for data integrity. Here you can see the real-time document that has been created and shared in the patient record. Lastly, we are able to show what it looks like on the data analytics dashboard of sepsis outcomes, as well as managing this in real time. As we go to the pilot opportunities, we believe evolving the solution from a guided workflow solution to an automated sepsis detection system will improve the machine learning aspect of the tool. Also talking about biomarker incorporation and what it looks like in the European sepsis reporting. So if we're able to capture all of these events, what does that mean to seamlessly sync that with the agencies that need to know about these patients? Thank you for having us, and we're extremely excited to be part of Batch 5. Any questions?
Thank you very much, Jeff, for that, well, great and insightful presentation. You were just talking about AI and that you down the road want to implement it further. One question from the audience is, will you make or will you introduce artificial intelligence for decision support or decision making in the treatment?
Absolutely. So we believe currently in our current state, we describe ourselves as augmented intelligence. So allowing a user to use technology to drive you through the algorithm. As you capture more data on our fronts, you can absolutely see how that data would support machine learning aspects of who does well and who doesn't do well within the sepsis realm. So that's really how we see the tool evolving with our work with Roche.
Sounds very interesting. Well, one more question. It's more around your IP. Do you have any patents on your software that has been developed so far?
Yes, we do have a patent. We just received it 3 months ago for a comprehensive diagnostic and treatment system. We were happy to do that after a 5-year process of applying for the patent.
Fantastic. Congratulations to that. Well, one more question, and then we unfortunately have to go to the next one. The question is around accuracy for your sepsis detection. I'm sure you have some metrics around that, how accurate your system is.
Yeah, great question. So to give you a couple of use cases of what we were able to do with actual customers, we did a pilot project with a 500-bed hospital in Kansas City and found in a 6-month period 250 sepsis patients that were not being currently found, leading to a decrease in mortality over a year of 30%. We've also seen an identification increase at smaller institutions and hospitals of 200-300% using our solution. So we believe that there's a lot of opportunities for different ecosystems where we could use the tool.
That's huge. Well, thank you so much for that. I'm sure there are a lot of more questions. I'm happy to connect you afterwards. So thanks, Jeff, again. Then moving on to the next company, we're going to see LifeGen. LifeGen drives an evolution towards value-based healthcare. Taking the stage now, Michael will give us direct insights on how to tackle key questions of the treatment outcome quantification. So Michael, the stage is yours. Feel free to take us away.
Thank you, Fabian, for the introduction. And you also saw us on Jochen's slides. We were a little bit more exotic one on the right side, the value-based healthcare topic, capturing outcomes and calculating the value that you have created. So my name is Michel. Welcome to LifeGen. Thank you, Startup Creasphere, Roche, and Plug and Play for having us in this batch 5. And hello to my colleagues on this batch. Very exciting pitches so far. This is our founder's credo. Imagine a world in which you only pay for medicine if it helps you. And if you see here the founders on the right side, we have all very diverse backgrounds from educational roots or cultural roots, coming from Mexico, Europe, and Asia. But what unites us is the fact that we all have lost close family members because they didn't have access to the right therapies at the right time. So 2 years ago, we just had our corporate birthday. We decided to do something about that and make that better. from our perspective, access to healthcare should be universal. In the same time, and that's a challenge, healthcare systems should be sustainable because we are all also premium payers. And of course, there should be a clear focus on patient outcomes. And all this together is sort of I think the credo of value-based healthcare. Now, why should the industry care? I think it's clear access for patients is important for everybody. Also, the focus on outcomes. What has changed in the last 2 years, I would say, is the rising pressure, especially coming from new and very innovative products that came to market, and they came pretty quickly. I'm talking about here, for instance, about the curative therapies, the cell and gene therapies, the very personalized therapies, where there's a very, very high value proposition by the manufacturers. And on the other side, unfortunately, that's what we hear, at least from the paying side, there's sort of an evidence gap. So it's quite unclear how well all these therapies they really work on each single patient. And of course, the whole world becomes data-driven. Why should healthcare be an exception? So if you now move away, being reimbursed by a price times quantity quotation, and you link reimbursement by the value you have created in each patient, you will face those kinds of challenges. First, of course, data security, data privacy. We have heard that already in the other startup pitches. Also, data access. That's maybe the biggest challenge. Data is still very siloed, and the willingness to share it is sometimes limited. In our case, there's also the lack of standards, referring to what is a good, positive outcome, what is a negative outcome. We have here, at least in the solid liquid tumor field, we already have some sort of standards that we can translate to other markets. We started in developing markets, so there's a lack of infrastructure on the provider side. The two parties, the manufacturers and the health insurance, they of course have conflicting interests, and therefore they do not trust each other. And the more of those kind of innovative contracts that you do, the more you're looking for a solution that helps you scale them up. And those are two solutions. So on the right side, you see Life App, which is an outcome capturing tool. We use it always in situations where there is no access to clean, structured, complete data sets. And it usually also gives you some additional benefits. So for instance, in Latin America, it is used as a patient management tool where you can document and work with the whole patient pathway. Then the data is fed in our main core application, which is called Life Value. Here are several algorithms behind it, and we have filed one patent regarding detecting outliers. Here, the contract between a manufacturer and the health insurance company is digitalized. The data, of course, is structured, pooled and cleaned, so that you can see how well the things have worked, how much value you have created, and you can link then reimbursement to it. This ultimately allows that you can reduce the financial risk, of course, on one side, because the manufacturer is sharing the risk with you. You can also increase sales because the time that a drug or therapy can access the market can be done faster. It increases trust and transparency. You can also learn from the data and improve the therapy. And we think it's good that the manufacturers can demonstrate their value based in the real world and not only on clinical trials. This is what we have achieved so far. We are currently 11 employees. We have raised 3 million in capital. Here you see some of our partners that we're allowed to share. And we have, interestingly, we have started in Latin America, expanding there now, and now moving to Europe. We are now live in Switzerland as well. So don't sell products, sell better health outcomes. Thank you for your attendance.
Thank you, Michel, for that presentation and also outlining all the shortcomings of the current situation. Well, one question, looking also at your last slide, you're addressing multiple stakeholders within the entire journey. What has been some initial feedback, and how does the feedback differ amongst those stakeholders?
Yeah, interestingly, I think the drive on this topic comes clearly from the manufacturer side. So this is one of the first things I've learned. They have new products, they need new business models. They have difficulties to access the markets. They want to be reimbursed by the value they have created. So clearly they drive it forward. We are now also understanding the payer side quite well. So we can also help them with these new ways of contracts. On the provider side, it's sometimes a little bit challenging if it comes to sharing the data. We have here also found ways how we can incentivize to do so. This depends on each market. As we heard, healthcare is also then in the end the local business. But actually, what I think unites everybody is that you want to be focusing on the patient outcomes, and so we see on the philosophy and the willingness to do this a big motivation on all parties actually.
Absolutely. Well, we have one more question from Kevin. Why did you target Latin America first?
That was in the business plan from the first day. Some of the customers were bringing us there. It's interestingly, I think, a very evolving market because it's a big market, and of course they have even stronger budget restraints that we have in other parts of the world. So somehow it's probably the clash of the two parties has happened there earlier than in other places. And for us, it's super interesting because there's so much spirit over there. So we really like to work there. We're Spanish speaking as well in our team. So it's a lot of fun to work with them and bring that forward. And we were last year in Peru, for instance, in one of the hospitals. Then you can really see all the digital solutions you do, but there you see the patients that benefit from it, and that's really, really, it's really nice.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Michelle, for answering the questions. Really great to have you on the batch, and we're looking forward what you will accomplish with our partners and also, well, with us together. So thanks again. And we're then jumping to the second last company by Roche. Actually, not the third last, I'm sorry. We're going to see Unit. They've induced a new terminus, something called General AI, Universal AI. And what it is, Jode will tell you more about it and how to use it with Roche or several stakeholders.
Hi, Fabian. I'm Jorge Zuleta, Innovation Director at UNIT, Universal Intelligence. The Universal Intelligence is an extension of the artificial intelligence, more the natural intelligence that we have. Okay, let's start.
Yes, please.
Here's the opportunity we are facing on a global level. 417 million people have diabetes type 2. 80% live in countries of low and middle income incomes, and less than 50% are diagnosed. And of this, less than 50% of patients diagnosed have adherence to the treatment. Up to 80% of diabetes 2 cases could be prevented by changing behaviors. This impact on 10% of the world's health budget, generating costly consequence for the patient because a non-personalized treatment, which considers only average information from biomarkers with a high demand, lack of diabetes 2 type 2 specialists, no integration of information, high cost, lack of accessibility, lack of follow-up, and a big saturation of the public health system. So we have a patient journey with isolated stage of non-integrated information, which doesn't allow us to capture information about their behaviors, individuality, circumstances, and network to guide and follow the patient in this journey. So this is the reason we have created Voyager. Voyager is a technology to integrate and personalize diabetes data. The user is the multidisciplinary team of nurse, social assistant, doctor, nutritionist, pharmacist, and psychologist, and the beneficiary is the patient. The first step is the capture of information using speech recognition. The user enters data by voice during the medical appointment. The second input are biomarkers from Roche device, and the third, the input is the clinical existing records. The inputs are processed in cloud computing using deep learning and natural language processing to generate an electronic medical record that incorporates pharmacology, care process, infrastructure, environmental condition, and conduct of the patient. And for the other side, the outcome is a stratified risk ranking per patient. So the Voyager technology is a tool for supporting clinical decisions. The outcome is a treatment customization with preventive alerts to improve care along patient journeys, with behavior management, enabling confident healthcare decisions with critical patient prevention, delivering medical value on integrated testing solutions with accurate diagnosis. And in the next phase, the education and patient empowerment is our goal. To do this, we have a great team with more than 32 people with experience in maths, software engineering, UX UI, health, working together with Roche Chile. We are testing our system in 2 hospitals in Chile with the support of public fund from Chilean government. And we have a partnership with Amazon Web Services and an important accelerator from the south of Chile. Our goal is to scale our technology to reach and benefit more than 41 million patients in the world with a software as a service business model. We invite you to be part of the universal intelligence. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that great presentation, Jorge. Well, one question, you were just talking about global reach and how many patients you want to address. One question there is, how actually does your roadmap look like in terms of expansion? So what's the second market you want to go to, and then the third, and continuously?
Our objective first is the market in Latin America, in countries like Mexico and Argentina and Peru, for example, that has a big population, big problems with diabetes. In Chile, we have the similar problems, but our field of this is Latin America.
Okay. Well, and then also looking at the solution, what's your business model behind it? How do you monetize your solution?
Our business model is a software as a service. We want to have a charge per patient monitored in the system per year, for example. And it's a low cost comparing with the big cost that generates the diabetes to the public health system.
Okay, makes absolute sense. One more question. Also looking that you've already worked across multiple industries and now you're working with pharma. What are some of the, key differences you've identified during your journey?
The key difference is the way you change the conduct of the patient, of the conduct of the user. In this case, it's very important how we can change the conduct of the behavior to reach the healthy condition. And for us, it's the most important approach and difference compared with the other industries.
Okay, very insightful. Thank you. One more question that's more from our side. So what do you expect from the Startup Creasphere program?
We expect to escalate to a global level. To be here is a great opportunity. We are the only one from the South Hemisphere in this program. And for us, it's very, very important to reach for all over the world in globally in this case.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much. We are very excited to accompany you during that journey in our 12 weeks, and we will see where that leads to. Then, thanks. Then now moving on to the second last one. It's called ReadyCare. The world sees a never seen before increasing number of chronic diseases, and there are many solutions out there which tackle those chronic diseases. ReadyCare has a very unique approach, and how they actually cope with that increasing number, Stephen will tell you all about it.
Thank you, Frederick. Just let me share screen. My name is Stephen Egan. I would like to say thanks to Roche and Plug and Play for the opportunity to present today. Little bit of background: we are a digital therapeutics firm. Our core product is ReadyCare Control, and that's used to treat chronic disease. And I guess it's good to look at what digital therapeutics are. Digital therapeutics deliver evidence-based interventions to patients that are driven by high-quality software programs to prevent, manage, or treat a medical disorder or chronic disease. We like to use the term software as a drug to describe what we do. And this maps to our mission to reduce the global diabetes endemic. A little bit about the team. We brought together a multidisciplinary team to build a platform and service that scales to deliver robust clinical outcomes. Okay, Dr. Niall Caldwell, consultant cardiologist, is our clinical advisor. Andy is our clinical lead, supported by Laura. Michal runs operations and a team of software developers, and we use Cedar for applied AI and machine learning. We've been working on treating metabolic syndrome using digital methods for nearly 6 years at this stage. We've ran a number of very successful studies and trials, pilots, which have shown very consistent clinical outcomes. We've seen 48% remission rates in type 2 diabetic participants. The product is now live in primary care settings, in pharmacy settings, and we've got over 140 corporate clients taking our services. About to enter the UK market, initially treating type 2 diabetic patients on very expensive drug doses. Just in terms of what we currently treat, current indications include prediabetes, type 2 diabetes, dyslipidemia, hypertension and prehypertension, overweight and obese conditions. In terms of our product pipeline, indications include heart failure, non-alcoholic fatty liver, IBS, epilepsy, and PCOS. So just to talk a little bit about where we fit into the clinical process. Lifestyle therapy fits established clinical protocols. All medical associations recommend lifestyle therapy as a first-line treatment for chronic disease. Yet today there's probably 30 years of evidence, maybe 100,000 peer-reviewed studies that demonstrate the effectiveness of lifestyle therapy in treating, even reversing chronic disease. Yet today, most doctors do not have an evidence-based, widely accessible, affordable solution to prescribe. And ReadyCare Control provides a solution to this therapy challenge. Just a little bit about the components of our product. To achieve type 2 diabetic remission and clinically significant results across the cardiometabolic spectrum, a multifaceted approach is used in ReadyCare Control. Our digital therapeutic brings together 5 evidence-based components, including chronic condition-specific education and health literacy, resources, peer-to-peer support, an evidence-based dietary protocol, and one-to-one health coaching. And just to talk about some of the clinical results we've experienced over the last 5 years, we've seen exceptionally consistent results through our product development journey. One study presented at the European Society of Cardiology in Portugal in 2018 showed a 48% remission on type 2 diabetic subjects, triglycerides reduced by over 14%, systolic blood pressure reduced by 11 millimeters of mercury. And these results are equivalent to mono drug therapy, and they actually address the root cause of the condition. Another recent study, which was conducted in a real-world primary care setting, showed a 71% remission on type 2 diabetic subjects, triglycerides reduced by 51%. We saw 2.8 full pints reductions in BMI. This study is actually being presented at the American Heart Association scientific meeting in November of this year. And just to talk about the size of the problem that we are addressing, 6 out of 10 folk or adults in the Western world probably have a chronic condition. In the States, 4 out of 10 adults in the US have 2 or more chronic conditions. And these type of conditions are probably responsible for about 65% of all healthcare costs. So at this stage, I'd like to maybe take a few questions.
Fantastic, Stephen. Thank you so much. Actually, I was about to interrupt you, but that's perfect. Well, one question. You were claiming, first of all, impressive results. You were claiming that everything goes through a neural network. That neural network, how many clinical cases was that trained on?
In one particular study, there was 50 participants. The recent study we're presenting at the American Heart Association was an analysis of 48 subjects.
Okay, fantastic. Well, and then how far along the regulatory process are you? Are you on the road to receive CE mark or FDA approval?
Yes, we're in the process of doing a capital raise now to take ourselves through the CE process and embrace the new regs across Europe. And we're also actively looking at the pre-cert program in the States.
Okay, fantastic. Then, Stephen, thank you so much for the insights. We're really looking forward to have you on our batch and working together.
Thanks, Frederick. Thanks, everybody, for listening.
Okay, so now, last but not least for Roche, we're going to see Inscriptor. Well, looking at a practice of a doctor, there's a lot of work to do, a lot of work on a patient, but then there's also the bureaucratic part, where you have to document everything after you've seen the patient. There's one company out there called Inscriptor, and they're tackling especially that issue. How they do it, Simo will tell you all about it.
Exactly. Thank you so much. And also, first and foremost, happy to be here with the program, and thank you for PNP and Roche to be given this opportunity to present our company and the technology that we have developed. So let me just share my screen. All right, so here we go. Also, just again, want to emphasize that I'm super happy to see that at least on 2 previous presentations, speech was mentioned as one of the mediums to convey information between a person and an information system. And that is what we are all about. So we are the essential alternative for those Googles, Microsofts, and Amazons of the world for more accurate and affordable tailor-made speech recognition solutions for particular selected large-scale industrial verticals. Now, this might seem a bit abstract when you put it in this kind of a context, but let's take a look at an example. This, I think, was already discussed by Lab Twin. So documentation is a compulsory thing that you just need to be able to convey information between different kinds of medical professionals. And it just happens to be the most time-consuming back office task as well. So there's a famous article by the magazine Forbes called Death by 1,000 Clicks. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but it addresses the issue that we're looking to tackle over here. And luckily, we found the solution. By creating these medical notes, by using your voice, as I'm doing right now, to be interacting with you. We're not typing, we're discussing using voice. You can speed up the process by 4-fold. I want to bring you an example case because, again, just not to discuss this on a top level only, but take a very concrete example from just a few months back when we acquired our newest customer in the laboratory sector. FimLab Laboratories is a laboratory service provider located here in Finland, where I'm also located myself. And previously they spent, and these are actual figures, so they spent 1.8 million euros on outsourced transcription services to be able to provide their medical professionals the capability to focus on their actual core competence. We were able to reduce that cost down to 0.7 million euros. So if you quickly count that, then we brought them cost savings in the range of 1 million euros, or actually 1.1 million euros to be precise. And this then, of course, you can then use on something a bit more productive. Let's say, for example, COVID testing, which is quite an actual problem at the moment. But this, again, is just a single customer and I would say a rather smallish case example still. So, of course, the opportunities that lie beyond are measured in the tens of millions. And of course, one thing that I also want to mention is that by being able to deliver the information immediately to your peers, this has a value of its own, which is not as easily measured. But the turnaround times that were previously measured in days even were then reduced to just minutes. About the competence, about the technology itself. So we actually have a quite a heavy peer-reviewed paper that I can deliver you with, but just to highlight some facts from the abstract is that we took 4 languages, Finnish, Swedish, Arabic, and English, which are entirely apart from themselves. As you might know that Finland and Sweden are located next to each other, they are still not linguistically linked. And for these 4 languages, we actually hold the best results in the entire world when it comes to automatic speech recognition. And this applies to even Arabic, which is a language that we do not understand a single word of, and not, for example, even the script or the writing system. But for example, Cairo University and the renowned MIT were left behind in this particular contest that took place in 2017. Top-notch technology. Actually, well, let me give you a demo. Let's jump into this. So, this is an example of how our speech recognition system works. It performs approximately 1 million calculations for each word on our cloud and then delivers the results in less than a second. The system is language agnostic, which means that you can use it for every language imaginable and include professional lingo such as medical terminology. There we go. Hopefully everybody can see this. About the team, you've met me. Joni Aaltonen is then our CTO and the brain behind the actual technology. Our Chief Scientific Officer, Peter Smith, is one of the most highly renowned professionals in speech recognition sphere. And I'm also happy that he is with the team and will be included also in this particular project that we are now looking to engage together with Roche. Thank you. Happy to answer all your questions.
Well, Simo, thank you so much for that presentation and also the very, well, congratulations to the very impressive, well, developments, especially competing against Harvard and MIT. Well, already one question beforehand. What's the direct feedback? So we've seen something by FinLab. But what's also the feedback from, for instance, a doctor or really the person that uses it every day?
I guess the best example is that many of our end users have ended up investing in the company after they have adopted the solution. So that speaks for itself. So they've like raised their hand and asked us whether they could pitch in a small ticket to get into this project with us.
Okay, that's actually the best feedback you can get, right?
I would say so. Yeah, thanks.
Then also looking in terms of markets and also where you want to scale your solution, what's the current status here?
At the moment, we're very much centered around European languages because of the highly developed healthcare system, which requires this level of documentation. But then again, of course, because the language or the technology is language agnostic, I mean, the world is your oyster, so to speak. So you can engage in whichever, let's say, dialect on the Indian subcontinent, for example, just to give you an idea that there really is no limitations when you consider these language agnostic AI technologies.
Fantastic. Well, then also one last question. What do you seek to accomplish during the pilot with Roche?
Well, I would be happy to see our technology integrated directly into Roche's laboratory information systems, in the same way that we have now done with other let's say a bit smaller vendors on our local market, for example. But also I see great synergies with some of the previous presenters that I guess already mentioned, since they brought up speech as one of the methods to input information into their systems.
Fantastic. Well, we see them also, so we're really excited to see what you accomplish. So that sums it up for Roche. Thank you very much for listening here. We're now moving on to our latest partner on the platform. So that being said, we're very happy to hear our corporate, our champion Behzad Mahdavi, the Vice President Strategic Innovation and Alliance for Pharma and Biotech. He will give us some insight in what the vision for the batch is and what they want to accomplish. So Behzad, welcome to you.
Thank you very much, Fabian. I'm very happy actually to be part of this program, and a special thanks actually to Plug and Play and to all the startup for their participation. So I would like to present the Lonza Pharma Biotech, a worldwide custom development and manufacturing leader in pharma, cell and gene therapy space. Our mission is to support our customers composed of large pharma and mid and small biotech to develop and manufacture the drug efficiently using advanced platform for their patients. One important element also on this page is the age of Lonza organization, 123 years. And the secret of remaining in this business in a successful way during so long is a constant evolution based on innovation. Basically, this innovation spirit is reflected in our motto, which is delivering the medicine of tomorrow today, and really mean it and do it. Today, we are supporting more than 1,000 therapies based on different platforms, from small molecules up to the cell and gene therapy, passing by biologics. We love working with external companies, and especially with startups that I love personally, and our partnership with Plug and Play is to find the next innovative solution together with our external startups. One of the high-profile example to illustrate this external partnership with a startup is when Lonza and industry actually in general had a challenge for the complex manufacturing of CAR T-cells therapies, where the T-cells, the soldier of our body, are taken out of the patient and genetically manipulated to recognize and kill the cancer cells and put back into the same patient. Thanks to our collaboration with a Canadian startup called Octane, we have been able to develop an intelligent and automated platform and bring the solution to the market. And the first patient has been injected in September, actually, with a product coming from this system. And today we have a whole new business unit created based on this initiative. The next challenge that we are looking actually in this coming batch is one around the exosomes, which are acting as FedEx of our body for the cell-to-cell communication. And they can be used both for therapeutics and drug delivery, as well as companion diagnostic. And our targets are the startups with new technologies to manufacture efficiency and load in an efficient way this type of exosomes. The second subject is around more cell line engineering for complex protein expression technology that support manufacturing of B or multi basically specific antibodies in mammalian cell and without any having a folding or misfolding aspect to that. And we have, of course, the two excellent startup that Fabian is gonna present to us in the few minutes, actually. Thank you.
All right, Bizat, thank you so much for the insights and also for the insights on the vision for the upcoming batch. It's great to have you on board, and it's also very exciting for us to finally kick things off during the program with the partnership and see where you go with the next two startups which are upcoming. So first of all, we will see MD Immune. They are based out of Seoul, and they've developed a drug delivery platform called Biodrone. Using their vesicle, they yield a 10 to 30 times production rate compared to normal exosomes. How they do it, Seong will tell you more about it and guide you through the company.
All right, thanks, Fabian. Hope you can see me okay, and we'll start the PowerPoint. Okay, here we go. So hello, everyone. My name is Seong. I'm a CSO at MD Immune. I'm very honored to be part of this exciting event. MD Immune, sorry for the delay. Okay, MD Immune is a biotech company headquartered in Seoul. We've been dedicated to the development of the innovative therapeutic platforms called Biodrone. So this video clip actually illustrates the drone delivery project at Amazon, which is I thought was very fascinating to watch. So coming out of this mother drone, large blimps can be sent out with hundreds and thousands of packages to deliver them to the exact location. And I think the potential for the drone delivery to revolutionize the courier services is just immense. And I believe our platform technology resembles this drone delivery in many ways. Biodrone platform relies on the proprietary extrusion method to obtain the tiny vesicles from cells. These cell-derived vesicles, or CDVs, are then just used as novel, nano-sized drug delivery vesicles. After loaded with many types of drugs, these vesicles can find the targets, tissues, or cells inside our body using the interaction between particular surface moieties and their binding partners and targets. The first step is extrusion. Cells in suspension are passed through membrane filters with narrow pore sizes. As the pore size progressively decreases, finally to under a micron, the cells revascularize into tiny nanovesicles, which are very similar to exosomes in size, shape, and sharing many biochemical properties. If we extract CDVs from naturally available cells, such as mesenchymal stem cells, CDVs are produced with properties similar to their parent cells, or even exosomes secreted by MSCs. But what is more exciting is the surface modification or other engineering is possible, thereby conferring many interesting characteristics on the CDVs. These include a precise homing capability or characteristics enhancing therapeutic potentials. Currently, this extrusion technology is patented in 5 different regions. One exciting feature of CDVs is that they can be loaded with multiple drugs. This interesting quality has been demonstrated by many EV researchers using both chemical and biomolecular payloads. Using one of the available methods, we have observed highly efficient RNA loading into the CDVs and subsequent knockdown of target gene expression. The other feature that substantiates the potential of CDVs is that they can be steered to find the target. What we've been focusing at the initial stage has been the interaction between cell adhesion molecules, such as integrin and its binding partners. In addition to the natural cell sources, we are also exploring the possibility of enhancing such targeting effect by overexpressing surface markers on the source cells or combining other emerging technologies, which is well suited to CDVs. Next, let me briefly summarize the unique advantages of the Biodrone platform technology over existing drug delivery systems. Since CDVs are made from natural human cells, they are safe and can penetrate cell membranes and tissues fairly easily. In other words, the body is less likely to reject them in the same manner as it does other conventional drugs or other synthetic vehicles. In addition, we have observed that CDVs can effectively penetrate the blood-brain barrier. Therefore, using this property, highly potent but toxic CNS drugs could more easily be used in treating the brain diseases. Another remarkable feature of CDV is their versatility and expandability, which exosomes do not currently exhibit. Biodrone platform technology can be applied to virtually any cells. Moreover, engineering source cells that express surface proteins on the plasma membrane is so much easier than attempting to do the same on the membranes of exosomes. As shown in the left figure, we have observed that CDVs loaded with membrane proteins important for muscle differentiation, for example, could rescue muscle phenotypes in the cells deficient of such proteins. Finally, compared to the exosomes, we can produce far more nanoparticles in a much quicker process. This video clip shows how our syringe type extruder we developed works. It can process up to 200 milliliter of cell suspension in one click, which results in a yield that is significantly higher than conventional exosome purification methods. Besides the aforementioned versatility and flexibility, we believe that Biodrone platform technology will be expanded in many ways and help cure many debilitating diseases that are resistant to conventional therapies. So I guess I should wrap up for the sake of time with many thanks to the organizers at Plug and Play, and of course our sponsor Lonza and the audience, and most importantly, all the members of the MDimmune that I'm so proud of. Thank you.
Thank you, Sion. Really on point. So we already had the first questions coming in. Well, the first one is, how did you test your word error rate against other solutions?
Pardon? Which rate?
How did you test your word error rate against other solutions?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand the question quite well.
Okay, then maybe quickly jumping to the next one. In that specific case, what is the process for correcting any errors in transcription?
So it depends on the cargos that we would like to load. So it can be genes, and I mean, it can be the small RNAs or bigger molecules, or it can be chemical drugs. And so, and I mean, that's how it works on the CDVs that we are trying to develop.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much. Well, is the targeting as specific as for viral vectors?
So that's an excellent question, and then we are really diligently testing and comparing with other drug delivery systems. But since we are based on the natural the interactions that the cells and the body has, so by expressing them, I think we believe that we can achieve the similar or more effective targeting capability as shown in the virus or other vehicles.
That's fantastic. Well, Sion, one question from our side. What do you expect from the Startup Creasphere program? What do you want to accomplish with us and also with Lonza together?
All right, so I believe that by partnering the prestigious company like Lonza, we believe that we can escalate our technology to the next level that is more close to the commercialization level. and also try to understand what the global pharma or mature stage companies would like to see from us.
Fantastic. We're very much forward to working with you together and to see where the batch takes us. So thank you very much, Sion.
Yeah, my pleasure.
All right, then last but not least, I'm happy to introduce you to ValitaCell. ValitaCell has developed a technology that enables biologic drug manufacturers to bring their products to market much quicker. How they do it and what's the product offer, Stephanie will guide you through that.
Thank you, Fabian. Good afternoon, everyone. Great to be here. I've really enjoyed the presentation so far. I'd like to start by thanking Plug and Play and Lonza for the opportunity to present to you all, but also to engage with the program. My name is Stephanie. I'm the head of Science Cell Therapy at ValitaCell, and I'm here just to introduce you briefly to the company. So, ValitaCell is an Irish biotech SME that's headquartered out of Dublin at the National Institute of Bioprocess Research and Training, with a cell therapy R&D program at the Regenerative Medicine Institute in Galway and manufacturing capabilities in Germany. Now, the primary goal of our company is to bring technologies to biologics and cell therapy manufacturers that allows them to bring their products to market faster, cheaper, and with greater regulatory confidence. So quite a bit of synergy with Lonza's mission. Essentially, biologics or protein drugs such as monoclonal antibodies and cell therapies offer a really exciting new modality for the treatment of many different kinds of diseases, from certain types of cancer to degenerative diseases like osteoarthritis. However, there are significant engineering and manufacturing challenges that need to be overcome to bring these therapeutics to the patient and through the clinic. At ValitaCell, we really believe that better analytical technologies are required to really drive the evolution of this manufacturing process. Essentially, better product characterization or enhanced product characterization will drive the process control that is really needed or key to success. Within the biomanufacturing process, we target 3 core components with our technologies: the product or the protein product itself, the cell that is either used to produce the product, or in the case of cell therapy, that is the product, and the media in which the cells are grown and manufactured. We have 4 technology platforms that we have developed to target various elements of these 3 components. I'll start by describing ChemStress, which is a functional characterization tool for both CHO and mesenchymal stromal cells. It's a 96-well plate-based assay that uses small molecule stressors to profile cell response in specific media environments and can be used to functionally characterize your cells throughout your process development. Quantum is a fluorescence polarization-based platform that is used for protein or target quantification or detection in solution. Enhance is a media design platform that we use to customize or optimize media formulations for the biomanufacturing process, specific to your process. And Cell AI is an image-based platform that really harnesses the power of AI to characterize cells based on specific features of the cell morphology. So the overarching goal of these 4 technology platforms is to put useful information into the hands of biomanufacturers as early as possible in their process. So ValitaCell was founded in 2015, and since then we have successfully commercialized 2 of these platforms, including ChemStress and Quantum, for the biologics space, which with blue chip customers across European and US markets. And we are currently developing both ChemStress and Quantum for the cell therapy space, touching on maybe EV or exosome quantification with Quantum, that's been discussed previously. We are then also developing Enhance and Cell AI for both the biologics and cell therapy space, with the aim of commercializing these in the coming years. I'm going to leave you with just a snapshot of our senior team, because we really feel that key to our success thus far and to the delivery of the technologies that we have in development is the team that we've assembled at ValitaCell. We've got over 45 years of collective experience in the life sciences industry, a significant track record in tech development and commercialization through our CEO, Jerry Clifford, as well as domain expertise in areas like AI through our CTO and head of data, Ben and Paul. Myself and my colleague Hannah bring cell therapy and biologics manufacturing expertise to the group. And we also have core competencies in image-based assessment of cells through my colleague Eligio. And Kevin, who's actually here with me today, is our Chief Marketing Officer, who has 20 years of experience in growing brands across multiple sectors and is leading our digital marketing campaign in the space. So this is just a snapshot of who we are and what we do, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Stephanie, for that great presentations and all the insights. Well, we already have the first question, and it is about the accuracy of your quantum platform. So with which accuracy can you actually say you've identified the target?
So our current products in the quantum platform target monoclonal antibodies, and we have benchmarked these against established technologies in the space like the octet and HPLC. And it is a relative quantification tool, so requires a standard curve, but works very well with high accuracy. And I think the advantages of the technology over larger instruments like I've just described are really that it is quite high throughput, doesn't require specific hardware or specialized hardware, excuse me, and can also be, we are in the process of migrating it towards an at-line application. So it's very, very dynamic and flexible, but also simple and easy to run.
Sounds fantastic. Well, on the other side, also looking at your entire product portfolio, where do you see the highest traction in the future, or what do you believe will be the most successful product?
Personally, I think there's space for all products at different points of the development and manufacturing process, but the cell AI platform has a lot of potential in the cell therapy space, which is really lacking, I think, tools that allow for quick turnaround of information and manipulation of your process. At the moment, most analytical platforms take a long time to characterize the cells and don't allow for manipulation of your process. So I think AI-driven image-based analysis really has a lot of potential in this space.
Maybe also directly touching base on the cell AI. So how much data have you already accumulated in order to develop this product?
So part of our goal really is to acquire data through all of our projects to feed into the Cell AI program. And we're very lucky in that we have a number of collaborators and test beds across Europe in both the biologics and cell therapy space that have allowed us to do that. So we've acquired quite a bit of data so far, and we've generated a number of proof of concepts, both in mesenchymal stem cell morphology assessment and CHO cell viability assessment as well.
Okay, fantastic. Then one last question. What do you expect? How much time can be saved using your solution in setting up a production process?
Well, if we take the example of AI, and you suggest that you don't need to extract cells from the process and stain them to get valuable information, you reduce assays that normally, especially in the mesenchymal stem cell manufacturing setting, for example, could take days to minutes and hours. So it really has the potential to really optimize the process because you can capture information much faster than before.
Very impressive, and might have some great influence in the industry. Well, thank you so much, Stephanie and Kevin. It was great to have you, and thank you for all the insights and answering all those questions. Well, and then also thank you from my side. It was a pleasure to host all the startups, to welcome all the startups. We're really excited to kick our batch 5 off, and we're looking forward to see the developments in 12 weeks from now. That was it from my side. I'm now handing over again to my colleague Federica for the closing remarks. Thank you very much.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much, Fabian. And before the closing remarks, just one brief announcement. Today there was a press release from Roche Diagnostic and our batch 2 startup BabyScript that they have come into a commercial agreement and are starting their collaboration continuing after our batch. So congratulations. And we have our next event upcoming, the batch 5 Expo, where you can see what the startups of this batch have achieved during the batch, starting as of today. And hopefully we have a lot of more press releases like this afterwards. So I would like to thank everyone for participating, for asking questions, for pitching, sharing what you do in your company. And we really have so many different important angles of the healthcare industry present with the same goal to transform healthcare together. Thank you to our dear partners for supporting us and for supporting the startups. Good luck to the startups and your pilot projects. Thank you for participating in our program. We're very proud and happy to have you on board. And most importantly, thank you to the team here on the ground from Plug and Play for preparing and for executing this event. We are all not born AV and tech experts, and I think we can be very proud of us, of what we have achieved. We had over 200 participants today, and I would like to thank everyone for joining us, and big thank you to the team here on the ground and everyone for joining us, and looking forward to a successful batch 5 together. Thank you very much.